Hello and welcome to this little session I like to call the orientation call. What do I mean by the orientation call? Well, this is kind of the first place that you land when you join the Good Food Network. It also serves as a chance to show you a little bit of what's going on behind the scenes to know whether or not the Good Food Network might be something for you. Hi, I'm your host. My name is Lucas Simmons, and I've been running this Good Food Network for the last 3 years. It's a subscription service where there's new content available each month. And each month, we rotate through different themes. And starting on Canada Day 2025, I thought I would do an entire year on metabolic health and thinking outside of that box that we think of for metabolic health and going that extra mile. Because I love the power of food. I love the power of nutrition. I've seen it in my own symptoms. I've seen it reduce my need to rely on medications for some things. I'm not saying it'll do it for everybody, but I'm saying the power of what you put on your plate, how you approach meal prep, and how you feed yourself, and some of the other pieces we talk about can have such a big sway in how your body makes it through the day. Whether or not the symptoms come, or the ones that have always been there, start to slow down how quickly and soon they show up in the body. So, big thanks to you for joining me today. If you've watched a lot of videos, if you've saved a lot of posts, if you've read books, if you take things out of the library, if you're bookmarking so many of these things on the socials, you still don't know what to do first, this is the good place to be right now. So if stress is what is triggering your own symptoms, so give it a minute. On a day where maybe you didn't sleep well the night before, do your symptoms show up a little bit sooner or feel a little bit louder? What about in days where there's a lot of stress going around? You're planning a big family move. Is that when a lot of your symptoms start to crop up? Are you somebody when there's a lot of demands on you at work that your personal life starts to suffer because that stress from work is really driving so much of these pesky symptoms or your autoimmune symptoms or your histamine, maybe even mast cell activation symptoms? If stress is what triggers your symptoms or is one of the things that triggers your symptoms, you're in the right place. If you're somebody who struggles with low energy, hard time falling asleep, and even hard time staying asleep, if you find yourself with cravings over the course of the day, if you work through low energy and brain fog things where it's hard to piece things together, if you've had an increase in some of these symptoms as you are entering perimenopause, so if you're north of 40 and that's where a lot of these symptoms started to ramp up, including histamine reactions, including inflammation, including thyroid or gut issues, friend, none of this means that you're broken. It usually means that your body is asking for steadier support. And that's what we're going to decode. That's what we're going to set up as okay, now I understand, but what do I do? Because I'm here to tell you that information isn't enough. I know, I'm a jerk, but it's true. Knowing what to do doesn't actually change your experience through the day and those symptoms. Practicing the very steady, unsexy things is what actually does. So you don't build your muscles by watching workout videos, yeah? Like you build it by showing up regularly. So the Good Food Network is just that. It's kind of that container. It gives you somewhere to land every week and to practice what it is that you're learning. So if you've been stuck in learning mode longer than you would like, this is your invitation into practice mode. Why does blood sugar matter? Well, this is going to be, I could go on for 17 hours. The more I do the work I do, the more I realize I don't think it's histamine that's the issue for people. Okay, then I go back, okay, maybe it's been inflammation all along. I don't think it's inflammation. Oh, I actually used to think it was leaky gut. No, these are all manifestations of something that is not functioning properly, or no, it's functioning properly, but it's sounding the alarm that something is wrong. And the first alarm it sets is blood sugar balancing. So when we start in, you can, I think the gut is a really great foundation. In fact, that was the first foundation we got into. The second foundation that I see as support in reducing these what's driving your symptoms is addressing blood sugar issues. And every single client that I work with works at blood sugar management. And when we do this piece, it's actually the hardest piece, I think, to wrap your head around, but it ends up actually being a very simple step to do. Because when you first come in, when you've got such a complex network of things contributing to your symptoms, you have this concept that, well, I have to eat a low histamine diet. I have to get the 12 supplements I'm supposed to be on. I'm supposed to do the stress management. I'm supposed to. Hmm. Sure. Is all of that triggering your stress response even more? Yeah. Oh. So a better way in is to actually just address blood sugars first. And when we address blood sugars, now your list of to-do is actually shorter, and your capacity to get through the to-do list of what it is to have a histamine issue or Hashimoto's or who else do I see? Oh, osteoporosis. That's cropping up quite a bit right now with clients, actually, or mood and anxiety pieces, or a hard time through menopause. That's, I mean, it changes all the time, but those are the big arching themes of what I see in my clientele. And when we start addressing blood sugar issues, now our capacity to handle and prioritize what it is we need for whatever our particular issues are starts to be like the to-do list is a lot shorter. Yeah. So it's basic work that is really steady and it doesn't come in a bottle. It requires you to change how you move through your days. But the idea here is that that's actually what your body's asking for. Those symptoms that she's throwing out, that is her method of communication to say, hey, pal, it's not working. The way you're doing things is not working. I need something to change. And the Good Food Network has that container of, got these symptoms, that's what your body's asking. So do this, and this is how you do it. Here's a reminder again, do this. Are you still doing this? Here's another way to think of it if it's too tricky for you. And then you get to build your own toolkit out of what it is that's in the network. So I want to highlight the 3 or 4 most common struggles that I see in my clientele that are connected to blood sugar issues. If stress makes your symptoms worse, blood sugar is actually where you need to start. You'll do better addressing blood sugar issues than you will whatever, like, I think I can't handle oxalates. Okay, if we're micromanaging to that degree, take a step back and address blood sugar issues first. And then I bet you oxalate issues will resolve themselves eventually. And if they don't, then we will do some work for it. There's great stuff we can do for your microbiome at that stage. Yeah, it's mostly a microbiome and a digestive issue. And eventually your kidneys feel it. But anyway, I'm getting too complicated. But if stress is the main trigger to your symptoms, you would do well to join us in the Good Food Network. If you have energy crashes where you are dependent on snacks, you are wired and tired over the course of the day, blood sugar swings, or you're waking up in the middle of the night, that's a third one that I tend to see. Or if you have cravings, I love these conversations with clients. Yeah, no, I don't have any cravings. Except that I want to snack all the time and I'm snacking all of the time because if I don't, then I'll have cravings. Okay, I don't mind that you're snacking. I want to eventually get you to the stage where you don't have to rely on snacks, though. They're a great crutch and I strongly recommend them if you're hungry. But can we get you to the stage where you're not needing to rely on snacks? That's the work we work towards. And that's how we know you're on the right track. So, to be clear, because we're doing blood sugar balancing issues in the Good Food Network, I want to clear something up. Blood sugar issues is not just about diabetes. It is not just about the person who is not eating whole foods or who has a candy stash at work. I have clients who are quite surprised to find out that they are insulin resistant and they are eating whole foods and have for 30 or 40 years. And people who are going low carb, just a second. I've gone low carb, I'm going carnivore, and I still have blood sugar issues. Yeah. Yeah, because blood sugar balancing is not just for carbohydrate heavy consumers. In fact, Oh, no, I can't say that because then you'll think that I'm saying that across the board, and that's not true. I'll see some people do better when they bump up their carbohydrates and their blood sugar regulation issues start to resolve. I've seen some people reduce. It's a very individual process, and it takes some tweaking to figure it out. But it's a part of what we help you figure out in the Good Food Network. And by we, I mean the royal we, me. Because blood sugar is not just about what you're eating or what you're not eating in some cases. It is actually about hormones. It's about sleep. It's about inflammation. It's about the stress response. And more than this, it's actually about the nervous system. So the nervous system is quite possibly the biggest disruptor of blood sugar issues. And the beautiful part that I love about the work I do is that in how you feed yourself, you can actually signal safety to the body and help quiet a nervous system that feels on edge. That's the secret of working through blood sugar balancing issues. And it's where I start with every single client. I'm kind of amazed that it's the same solutions. I can bring it back to every single symptom everybody's got, and it works beautifully. Takes some wrapping your head around, but with this weekly thing that we do in the Good Food Network, you get a reminder of it and a re-invitation to re-engage with those solutions. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a taste test of the kinds of things we do in the network. So let's talk about what it takes to reset your blood sugars. What if we were to build, like, let's call it a blood sugar reset plate? What might that plate look like? Okay, so try this at your next meal. So we're about to I'm going to make supper once I log off of this because it's dinner hour in the Netherlands. But next time you're building a plate, pay attention. Okay, you want a protein the size of your palm or a deck of cards. If you have a big palm, you need a bigger size of protein. If you have a smaller palm, you need a smaller portion of protein. But do a protein, animal protein, the size of your palm. If it's a plant-based protein, it's a different need, and that I'd have to calculate for you depending on how you're eating. But let's say in general, let's aim for a portion the size of the palm of your hand. On this plate, I want you to also add a natural fat, something naturally occurring in nature, like butter is a natural fat, olive oil is a natural fat, coconut oil, avocado could be your natural fat. I want you to have some type of natural fat on that plate. I want you to have non-starchy veg, maybe filling about half the plate. And then as part of that plate, a starch, we'll call it a starch. Now, your starch, the one thing I will say here is the starch needs to be a smaller portion than what the size of your protein portion is. So, could it be potatoes or rice, sweet potatoes? It could be fruit. I love cooking fruit right now, it's my favorite thing as part of my meals. So, to give you an example of what I'm making for dinner, so the protein is leftover chicken from last night's roast chicken dinner. The natural fat I'll be using in here will be butter because I'm sauteing some vegetables. And then the non-starchy veg, I've just cut up a bunch of vegetables where it is cabbage, radish, carrots, and mushrooms. And I think there's onions in there. There will be garlic and ginger as well. They're more flavors. But those are going to be my non-starchy vegetables, and they're going to make up the majority of my plate. I'm also at the end going to add a lot of fresh herbs and green onions. And then my carb that's going to be a part of the plate is a small portion of rice noodles. I may even do glass noodles that are sweet potato based. There's no fiber in there, but just because I happen to have them in the pantry. I haven't looked in my pantry yet to see what I have. But those, so that's what I'm going to be making. And it's a smaller portion of those rice noodles, but a really big portion of some of those vegetables. And then about the size of the palm of our hand each of chicken. And I'm going to saute that, and that's dinner. So the next time you're building a plate, I want you to think about this. Protein the size of the palm of your hand, a little bit of fat in there. Half of the plate has to be non-starchy veg, and a quarter of the plate, a little bit smaller than the protein size, your starch. So I love root vegetables here. You could do rice, you could do whatever, pasta, I'm sure you could use a piece of bread, whatever. Fruit, however you want this to be. Now, one of the things to not aim for is to have naked carbs, where it's like a bowl of pasta by itself, or a bowl of rice by itself, or a bowl of mashed potatoes by itself. I love potatoes. There's good protein actually in potatoes, a small amount of protein in potatoes, but it doesn't count as protein on a plate. Yeah, it's a higher carb to protein ratio. So when you have this meal, aim to have that at a meal where you'll have a good stretch of 3 hours afterwards, at least. And notice after you have a meal like that, what do you notice over the next 3 hours? I'm going to tell you there's 5 things to look for. Um, and I can't find some way to think of a way for you to remember what these are, but energy is going to be one, hunger for another meal, mood, focus, cravings, I'll add two more, sleep, and your own symptoms. So when you have a meal like that, I want you to look at your energy, how hungry you are for the next meal, how your mood is, how your focus is, how your cravings are, how sleep is that night, and how your symptoms are, your particular symptoms. So if you have histamine issues, that's the seventh one to track. So with that meal, what is better? What is worse? Do you make it longer through the night before you wake up? Do you have better mood? If this is your lunch, how well do you make it to the supper hour where you don't feel like punching someone in the face at 4 p.m. because you're hangry? Those kinds of things. That was my story. This is not, it's not a diet. It's not a, there's like, it's a stabilizer. We're talking about how to build a blood sugar balancing plate. So compare how you move through your day after this kind of meal versus how you may typically build a meal. I talk to a lot of clients, and it's actually quite prominent here in the Netherlands, a big drive for a more vegetarian-based approach to consuming meals, which I get for environmental purposes. There's good arguments coming. And we live in a land in a part of the world where there's not a lot of land for animals because it's so populated here on this part of the world. So there's arguments for and against it. That's not the discussion I'm here to have. But what I'm noticing is with the concerted effort put towards tracking to see how different you feel when you bump up the protein in particular is really quite remarkable to me, the changes that I'm seeing in clients that I'm working with to see what they're feeling, what they're sensing, what they're noticing about how differently they move through the day. So I invite you to try this one. So that's something that's the kind of solutions that we talk about inside of the Good Food Network. So if you wanted to join us, that's the kind of stuff that we would be doing. So next, I want to take you behind the scenes. Like, well, it's not really behind the scenes, but I'm going to share screen because I want to show you. I mean, you can listen to me talk, but it's never as I have a face for radio. Okay, so balancing blood sugars as one of those metabolic foundations. That is the topic of what it is we are doing in the network this month. It is blood sugar balancing as one of those foundations for metabolic health. So we're doing, in the network, we do a weekly session. So every Thursday, there's a 30-minute session. It's at 7 a.m. Alberta time, but the replay gets posted about an hour and a half afterwards. So you're able to access it for the rest of the month. So if you want to join us live, you can. I make it so your cameras are off, so you can go about your morning business. But these are the sessions we're going to be diving into this month. So this week we're talking about leptin and the tie between cravings and hunger cues and blood sugar imbalances and how these can really alter things. This will be very important for the person who thinks they're eating really well but keeps gaining weight, especially in this middle age era of life. Hello, I'm with ya. Then next week, we're going to talk about potassium. A lot, I talked about chromium in November. A lot of people talk about chromium and magnesium, but I think potassium is the unsung hero, actually, about blood sugar balancing issues. So we're going to do a deep dive into what the heck is potassium? Where do you find it? And why is it that this might be one of the drivers of your own issues? Are you getting enough potassium? Why are we not getting enough potassium in our diet? Like the majority of my clients are deficient in potassium. Oh, it's not just about electrolyte drinks, pal. That is such a band-aid solution. I mean, no, I don't. We'll see what I bring in solutions that week. Okay. In week 3, we are talking about blood sugar's link to insomnia. Mm. When we start to address blood sugar issues, sleep starts to be a little bit more reliable, steady, and restorative. So this is a massive, massive undertaking. This, for anybody who struggles with insomnia, I guarantee you blood sugar is involved somewhere. I guarantee you, across the board, it's blood sugar imbalances that drive the histamine dump late at night because of the nervous system involvement and whatever. I mean, we can trace everything about insomnia to blood sugar imbalances that have gone on for a long time. So we're going to do a full session on this and where to start looking for solutions and how to build those in for yourself. And then, yes, it's on Christmas Day. It will be pre-recorded and it will be available the Monday prior so that you've got 2 weeks to watch it before it disappears. But we'll be doing as our final session of the month, a tie-in to blood glucose and how it drives elevated cholesterol numbers. Including those of us who may have a family history of elevated cholesterol. That's me. Yeah. So if you have an elevated, they call it hypercholesteremia, I think is what it's called. Or if you have a family history of cardiovascular disease and or strokes, then we're going to be covering how you can maybe move through your day to help reduce what is driving that. So it's a lot of preventative. Preventative, whether or not you have the issues. Great if you have the issues, because this is the work that helps slow down the progression towards those conditions. But it's the work of not only making sure you don't have a heart attack, but like making it sure that you can move through the day and that you can sleep tonight and that you don't have the stress symptoms that you've always got. Addressing blood sugar issues is the first thing you need to do when stress is involved, pals. Yeah. Okay, so these are the weekly sessions. Half an hour in each of these has 2 or 3 solutions. Oftentimes, 2 of those solutions are repetitions of others. So you start to see a pattern. And every week there's at least one new idea for those who've been doing the work and been in the network for the last 3 years with me. So there's always new stuff coming. Now, in addition to that weekly piece, there's also a reinforcement of holistic nutrition ideas through a couple of different ways. We do 5 recipes every month. We also do a weekly food challenge. So we do recipes that are focused on blood sugar health. And this month we've got a full roast chicken dinner with yogurt and lemon, and there's a low histamine alternative for those who have histamine issues. We're also doing is it a snickerdoodles or is it I can't remember which recipe it is. Anyway, there's some kind of recipe in the bundle this month to help you focus on blood sugar health. So you got a recipe a week that you can try. And they're all available as soon as you sign up. We also have a whole module on seasonal eating, so that can be another way in. I often talk about seasonal eating as a biohacking way in to helping support the body's biochemistry a little bit better. And again, yeah, that weekly food challenge today, the first one, the weekly food challenge is kimchi. So the challenge for this week is, can you work kimchi into your meals? I had some for breakfast on toast with cheese for my breakfast. So I've already done the weekly food challenge. And in the network, I'll talk about why it's important. You don't need to remember that. You just need to remember that kimchi helps. And so this is the kind of thing that we talk about each week. There's a brand new food challenge. How will you do it? I'll give you ideas on how to incorporate it. Now, when you join us in the GoodFood Network, you also get access to a 2-hour live class. And I do one every month. It's open to everybody. And if you join me in the network, you get access to this class for free. So the class we're doing this month, I was just building it before I jumped on here on the call. We're doing a class called Eat, Sleep, Balance. And this is getting into blood sugar's impact on restorative health. When you have blood sugar issues, the whole work of restoring health and doing repair is hindered. So if we can stabilize your blood sugars, now your body can do repair and your body can bring in restorative health. That's the aim that we're looking for, and that's where nutrition really shines, really through this lens of blood sugars. So when you join us, you'll get the Zoom link, you'll get the handout, you'll get the recipes, you'll get the replay for the until the end of the month. You get access to be able to really build your own food as medicine toolkit. There'll be too much for you to choose from. And there's a lot of repetition. But for the person who needs repetition, I find it works for me. You're going to hear the same thing echoed, just in kind of different ways. So know that whatever it is that you choose to dive into when you join us in the network, you will get good content. What else do we have? Oh, yeah, there's a whole module on seasonal eating. And we just switched to winter foods. So yesterday in the Good Food Network, we were talking fall foods. Now we're talking winter foods. So this is a list of foods to focus on for the season. This used to be part of a $150 program I used to run. And we had weekly sessions for 6 weeks. That was lovely during COVID. No one wants to meet for an hour and a half every week for 6 weeks anymore. No, and I get why. So I've condensed it and it's a printable that you now gain access to. It's something I share with clients. It's something I share sometimes with past clients, but it is a big piece of how to live in alignment to best support the biochemistry of the body. And so in the network, we talk about why this is a missing piece. I give you a list of foods, a list of teas, a list of herbs, a list of superb foods, which medicinal mushrooms maybe you want to focus on to help nourish you through the winter season. I should say winter. Anyway. And then there are more recipes as well. So this is kind of the little hidden jewel of the Good Food Network. In addition, for those who really want to go deep and want to really get a deep understanding of blood sugar balancing work in the body, I gave you access to a 3-hour class until the end of December. So this is a class I used to run on Sunday afternoons at the Light Cellar. And we used to do a full day, a full half day where we would cook in the afternoon, we would make some recipes, and we would talk about the depth of just how much blood sugars have a role to play in so much of the body's biochemistry. So in this deep, deep exploration class, we do a comprehension piece to understand how blood sugar works in the body, pinpoint what is behind your own blood sugar troubles, help you identify specific foods that will help, which foods hinder, and then this class, because it's a honker of a class, you get 5 solutions. And they're all fairly large things. The work outlined in this class is like 6 months worth of work, putting it into place. And this class alone is $85. If you join us for the Good Food Network, you get access to this plus everything else for $40, half the price. I know, you're welcome. So the piece to know about this, everything is on replay. Everything that's done live gets a replay. The stuff that is already recorded, like that vitality class I was just talking about, you gain immediate access as soon as you register. Like there's no waiting for things to come through. And you can access it whenever you want because I'm open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even on Christmas Day. If you need a little quiet alone time, you can squirrel away and go make yourself a cup of tea and come and listen. We can hang out. Yeah. So all of this awaits you when you come and join us in the Good Food Network. And a little reminder, because this is what I find in the people I'm working with. This is a massive theme right now. And I'm sending out love to all of us who feel this. Reading and researching about health is great. I get it. I've done it myself. I went to school for it, for God's sake. But reading about it doesn't shift symptoms. Practicing health does. And the Good Food Network is that container where for sure we'll talk about what are the pieces to know, the science, the why, but this is the container that gives you the how. So, practicing health, the practical solutions to put in place, that's what we address in the Good Food Network. And that's what I would love for you to do in order to join us. Yeah, we've got good things waiting for you in the Good Food Network. So, I'm going to give you a couple of different things. You don't have to attend live to benefit. You've got replays available until the end of December. And in fact, I may not even touch things until January 2nd because the first day of the year feels like such a sacred day. Another piece for you to know when you join in the Good Food Network, there's zero pressure. You can try it risk-free. If within the first 7 days it's not what you thought it was, you can get in touch and tell me, it's not what I wanted, so I need a refund. And I'll give you a refund, full refund, no questions asked. So this is about guidance, this is about structure, and this is also about support. There's a group chat in there as well. You have the potential to send any questions you wish my way, and that will do only in the Good Food Network. So I want to give you something to think about. So if this is you, I want to do a before and after kind of picture. So imagine, and maybe one of these resonates with you. Is this you? This is the before picture, okay? I'm guessing at everything I need to eat. I'm not sure if this is good for me or not. Okay, is that you? Hang tight. Oh my gosh, I'm Googling. I have a master's degree in how to Google or DuckDuckGo my research and my solutions, or ChatGPT even. Are you the person who starts strong and fades fast? It's all still part of the before picture. Are you somebody who feels like your body is unpredictable and what it is that they are asking for is always changing and it's hard to read the symptoms? It's hard to read the room. Are you the person who's tried things and you keep thinking, why isn't this working for me? So that's the before picture. If you find yourself in any of those scenarios, let's paint an after picture. What might this look like? So, if you're the person who now learns to identify those symptoms that are driving the symptoms that are the early warning signs that your blood sugars are triggering and the stress response is triggering your other symptoms, you will know exactly what to eat when your blood sugars dip. And you'll learn the early warning signs and you'll know what to do so that you don't have the later symptoms. What about the after picture? Another scenario could be that you start to sleep through the night and you wake up like a teenager in the next morning. What if you are calmer around food and it doesn't feel like such a booby-trapped adventure? What would it be like if your energy felt steadier? If you really could make it through the day and felt like you could be that person people could rely on at work or at home or in your life or in your family life because you have the capacity to get through the day. Yeah, I think we're asking a lot of and too much of people. I think that's part of the issue. But if your blood sugars are tanking by 2 p.m., that is also contributing to things. What if your energy feels steadier? What if you stop second guessing yourself? What if you knew what those to-do pieces are because you started honing in on how your body talks to you? You didn't just did what somebody's chirping at you to do. What if you start trusting your body again? And what if food feels like support, not stress? Yeah. You don't just learn about health in the Good Food Network. You practice it, and you practice it daily and weekly with ongoing support. That's what we do in the Good Food Network. So let me go through the pricing for those who are still kicking around. It's $40 a month. That ends up being 28 US dollars today, or 24 euros a month. And if you are on the newsletter, if you're watching this because you're on the newsletter, go back to your newsletter or send me an email. Say, I'm on your newsletter. Give me the newsletter price. It's $35 for my newsletter, folks. You get a deal because you're on my newsletter. That ends up being 21 euros or 25 US dollars. Yeah. So use the proper link. And if you're a former client of mine, send me an email. I will give you the link that gives it to you for $30. I don't even know what that is in euros. It's probably like 17 euros a month. We make like it's so much less expensive in euros, it feels like. So I have three price points. Yeah, for the person who's on my newsletter, you get a good price. If you're somebody who's worked one-on-one with me, then you get an even better price. So get in touch. Send me a message below here, wherever you're watching this video, or send me an email. You get live sessions, you get recipes, you get weekly food challenges, you get a community as a container, you get replays available for every single session we've got, and you can pick and choose what it is that's going to fit your lifestyle and your level that you can commit to. You don't have to watch all of it because you know that I repeat myself often. So you just pick what you want. So we've reduced the stress levels right away going in. You don't have to consume everything. I am living in accordance with the abundancy rules of the natural world. I'm just mimicking in the Good Food Network. So if you want to try it for 7 days, if it's not for you, you get a full refund. Yeah. So if blood sugar feels like it's been a missing piece for you, come join us inside the Good Food Network this month. Yeah, I know December is not necessarily the obvious month to join us, but if you need a place to anchor and a place to commit to yourself for the month, and somewhere where you're going to say yes to this because it means you can say no to other pieces, and this eventually will create capacity for you, I can't wait to see you inside the Good Food Network. We make it delicious and we make it accessible, approachable, and amenable to whatever it is that you're able to consume. So, whether you want to join right now or not, you are already listening to your body. And that's the piece I want to make sure you understand. It really matters. Don't let this be another of those videos that you've liked that you haven't put in some of these pieces. Practice the piece I've talked about, that building that plate that balances your blood sugars, and pay attention to how it makes you feel. Information alone doesn't do this, but those practical pieces and the practicing of this to do work is where the magic lies. I would love to walk this month with you. We're doing it in the Good Food Network, and this will all be about blood sugars. We're switching things up in January where we'll be talking about the nervous system. But we can't do that until we built the foundations of blood sugars. So come and join us. Build a balanced plate, pal. Watch how your body responds. Pay attention. Imagine doing all of this with support this month. Hit me up if you have any questions. Look forward to seeing you in the Good Food Network. Salut et à bientôt!